Well, welcome to Colored Pencil. This is a beginning class, and I'm just hoping to teach some beginning techniques. I love colored pencil because it's really portable and you can take it with you anywhere. And before we start the class, I wanted to say this is hosted by Gaylord Area Council for the Arts, and we receive funding from Michigan Council for the Arts and Cultural Affairs and the National Endowment for the Arts, and we are very, very grateful to be able to do these videos. My name is Sharon Wade, and my favorite medium is soft pastel, and I think my second favorite is colored pencil. And so today we're here to just learn a few things, and so I hope you enjoy the class. This is the piece that we're going to try to recreate today. It is from a photo that I took of my mom and dad's crabapple tree in front of their house, which is gorgeous last fall. Since we're getting into the cooler weather, whether we want to or not, but the colors are going to start changing, and I thought this would be a great piece to start with because we have these beautiful details we could put into the leaves and the roundness of the crab apples, and then the colors that are changing. And then we have we can do some textures with the wood too, which makes it pretty. So this is the piece we will start with, but I wanted to give you a little bit of instruction on paper types. And colored pencil is a medium. It's a slow medium. It's not a fast medium. I know we're used to scribbling in kindergarten where we do things really, really fast and we just color with our colored pencils. The colored pencil is a very slow medium. We have to take our time with it. It's very easy, but very slow. And we need a paper that has a tooth on it. And this, I'm just drawing, if you looked at your paper sideways, here's a very exaggerated drawing. There are indentations in the paper. We call it the tooth of the paper. And as you're doing colored pencil, you're actually filling up these layers with your layers of colored pencil. And you can hold a lot of layers and get beautiful changes of color and shading and values. And mixing colors with these layers. When you have a flat piece of paper, your colored pencil will sit on top and you can only do a little bit. And that's what we're used to from our elementary school days. We're used to using. And the paper I'm drawing on is computer paper, and it is very smooth and very flat. So it's not the type of paper you want to use for colored pencil. I want to show you a few different papers that are available. This one you can actually get here in town at Hobby Lobby. It's Strathmore, and it's made for colored pencil. And here's one was working on starting. You can, if you feel it, it has a little bit of a tooth, just enough to pick up that colored pencil, and you can have a lot of fun with it. Here's another practice piece I was doing. So this is actually colored pencil paper, and another kind of paper. This one is a little bit, this is actually a regular watercolor cold press paper. And this has a very large tooth. So if I was looking at this sideways, it's very deep. And you could feel it. It feels really rough. And this creates a fun texture with colored pencil, but you'll see it's very hard to get in there and fill up the tooth. It actually creates a texture that I like, though. And this piece right here was done on this kind of paper, and you can see all the detail of the paper still in there, but I think it makes a very fascinating painting. So if you like that type of thing, this is a watercolor paper there, just a regular one that you can get here at Hobby Lobby or art supply store, and it's cold pressed, so it has a deeper tooth to it. The paper that I really like to use, and that I've heard recommended by many watercolor artists, is actually, let me see if I can get this whole thing on here. It's actually watercolor paper, and it's Fabriano Artistico, and I order it online from Dick Blick, and it comes in, I get big sheets of 16 by 20 and cut them up, and it's a hot press watercolor paper, and that means, here I'll get a piece for you. It's watercolor paper. It's that beautiful, nice, I love the edges you can get on watercolor paper. But it has a smoother tooth, but it still has a tooth. And you can build up so many layers. And that is the paper that I use to create this piece. So that one you can order online. and pick up here, or pick up online. This you can pick up here locally, this Strathmore watercolor paper, which is a little bit smoother, but my favorite is the Artistico, Fabriano Artistico. Okay, what else I'd like to go through is colored pencils, what colored pencils that you use. We grew up using pretty much in elementary school, you get the colored pencils from your elementary school, the big box in elementary school. And that's probably what has made you frustrated with colored pencil. They're great for coloring in coloring books, but they're very, very hard, and so that they don't blend. They just stay. It's hard. Let me get another color. It's hard to get these to blend. They just kind of want to go over top of each other, which actually creates a really fun piece. But colored pencil is actually made up of a pigment, a colored pigment, a clay, wax, and binder to make a dough. And then the dough is extruded in a tube, and the tube is put into a cedar wooden tube. And your colored pencils that are student grade have more binder in them. The colored pencils that are artist grade have more wax or oil in them, so that makes them blend a lot better. So I want to talk you into upgrading your colored pencil set into something a little bit better. And this is the set that I have. It's Prismacolor Premier. It's an artist grade set. And this has a lot more wax in the makeup of the pencil and a lot more pigment. So it's a beautiful blending pencil. And here's one of these. I use them a lot. And I wanted to show you, let's see. One thing about colored pencils is the bigger the set, the more colors is a lot more fun. But with a small set like this Prismacolor Premier with only 12 colors, you can actually create a set that has, I created 75 different colors just with my 12 color Prismacolor Premier set. So if you want to just start out and try it, go ahead and just buy your 12 color set and then have fun creating new colors, and I'll show you how to do that. And this, don't forget to take your 40% coupon if you want to go to Hobby Lobby, because this set right here is available at Hobby Lobby. And if you want to create more colors with your Prismacolor Premier 12 set, what I did was I took the set and I created a color chart. And on my color chart, I just wrote all the colors of the set across the top and the colors of the set across the bottom. And then I filled in. This one happens to be grass green right here. And I'm going to fill this in. And then I'm going to go across. Let me try a different color. So here's going to be grass green and orange. And so I'm going to go like this. Put down a layer of grass green, and I'm going to find my orange pencil in my set. And I'm going to do orange on top of it. One thing about colored pencil is you want to go as light as you can for as long as you can. And I'm going to layer up, and I'm actually creating a new color. And you can do this while you're watching TV, while you're listening to someone else, while your kids are playing in the yard, and you're outside and you just want something to do at the beach. And you see how I'm layering up and I'm creating a new color? So I've just created a brand new color. And this is my chart of all my colors just from my 12 color set. And you can imagine this is only putting two colors together. Violet blue and violet together will create this color. True blue and crimson red together will create this color. If you add a third color, you could even make a bigger chart, and you can have so many more colors. And that's the beauty of colored pencil, is learning how to layer up and create your new colors. A solid color is pretty, but just think what you can do if you add colors and all the colors that you can create. Here's a pink, and I'm going to add, whoops, drop that one. I'm going to add a blue. And I'm just creating more colors. And I'll go back over it with green. So blending colors is part of the beauty of colored pencil. And there I have a really beautiful new color. And I could just keep building up that layer and getting it more solid. But you can see, so have fun. Make a colored pencil, buy the cheaper set, make yourself a chart, and you can have this full range of beautiful colors to work with. Okay. Now, colored pencil techniques, I made this little chart just to help us see what we're doing. One thing about colored pencil is the way you hold it and the pressure that you put on it will create different effects. What we're used to doing when we first learned to hold our pencil in colored pencil, we're used to just going like this and scribbling. I can hardly even do it anymore because I'm so used to holding my pencil a different way. What that does, though, is it creates lines across your paper and causes your eye to move and follow the lines. I call these directional lines. We do want that. For instance, if you're using colored pencil and you want to do grass in a meadow or something, you do want to follow a line. Or if you can imagine, if you want to do hair, where hair would have a curl to it, you do want to do directional lines. And so you can use colored pencil, and that causes our eye to follow the flow of that. This is a meadow blowing, and I'm going to add a little more color maybe to it. And you can see how directional lines would work. But for the most part, for colored pencil, what I use is a method called scumbling. And I want to create a really smooth, and you'll see within our picture that we're going to do, just a really smooth, almost I want to create a shiny for these crab apple little berries. I did use some directional line on my leaves to get that flow of going this way, and giving it some direction. But most of my colored pencil work is doing something called scumbling, and I'll show you how to do that. If you could look at what I'm doing really close, I'm actually making ovals, and I'm repeating the ovals over and over and over again on top of each other. So my pencil is actually moving in an oval shape. It looks like this when I'm working. With colored pencil, to get into the tooth of the paper, you want to make sure you keep your pencil very sharp. And you want to hold it up even a little bit straighter. A lot of times you hold pencil like this, and I find myself getting lazy in doing that. But I actually want to hold my pencil a little bit straighter. I've got a little bit of shadow here, but if you can see what I'm doing. And this is called scumbling, and it actually helps create a very smooth texture. One thing about colored pencil, you want to go as light as you can for as long as you can. You don't want to press hard. Press hard dents the paper and puts lines in the paper. You want to press, I'm holding this so loose, and if you have trouble with that, you could even go back on your pencil and hold it a little bit more of a distance, just to keep yourself very loose. I'm doing these ovals in small areas, and let me try it. I'll add another color. Now this is getting to be a little bit dull, so what I wanted to use, I want to keep this sharp. I know we like to get a dull colored pencil because we can fill in big areas fast, but actually that's not the point of a good colored pencil drawing. You want to concentrate on your areas. And what I use at home, I love this thing, is actually an X-Acto electric pencil sharpener. And this thing works great, and it gives me really sharp points to it. I wonder if you could plug this in for me. Yep. I'll put that back there. My plug is farther away from my camera. The other thing that I use, this I just bought, it's Prismacolor for colored pencils. You don't even have to get this fancy. If you have one of those little metal ones at home that you use for school, and I just keep my pencil sharp. I'll show you the difference. Well, that one worked great. This thing works great. One little trick, colored pencil is made up of wax, binder wax, or oil and pigment. and it's soft. The good colored pencils are soft. See, it's a beautiful, nice point on there from this. If you crunch your pencil into the pencil sharpener, it tends to break easier, but if you actually turn your pencil sharpener and hold your pencil straight, it helps prevent breakage. That's just a little trick. See, I got a nice, beautiful point on that. Now, you're going to hear my pencil sharpener in the background, but here's one that's a little bit dull, so I'm going to stick it in and get a nice, beautiful point on that too. Actually, that's not as nice. Hold it in a little bit more. You want to keep your pencils very sharp, and you want to hold them up straighter and hold them and go as light as you can for as long as you can. And we're going to create beautiful colors with our colored pencil. You can see already getting a really pretty kind of a brown with that purplish and orangish color. I might go over that again. So this is called scumbling, and it helps you get a very smooth coverage on your paper with colored pencil. And I'm holding it so loose and just scumbling in like this. Another way to use colored pencil is cross-hatching. It's actually kind of like a directional line, but you can go like this and do your lines, and then go back and do your lines. And this also helps prevent that where you're able to see the line on your paper. You do get a little bit more of edges that you have to be careful to cover up when you do this method. But it's a cool method to use if you want to portray, say, maybe a material or something that has a texture to it, and you can just go back and forth and do your cross-hatching. I cannot, if you can tell, I cannot stand just using one color. I love creating color. I love building up color. And so I'm always kind of experimenting with color. One fun thing to do is to go to your paint store and get a bunch of paint chips and then try to duplicate the colors with your color pencil. I love doing that exercise when I teach a color pencil class. Try to figure out what color you're going to need, and then just do this layering it up until you create that color. Whoops, I started, yep, there. That's cross-hatching. So you can see, you can get a similar texture to that if you're careful. If you do cross-hatching too hard, it's hard and you get stop and start lines. Now, if you're doing a bark of a tree or something, or a rock that has texture like that, this would work. But you have to keep this also light. Then you have to go back over your lines. So that's cross-hatching. Okay, another technique is black. Oh, I think I forgot my black pencil. I don't actually use a black pencil. I create black by using a blue, a green, and a red. When you use just a black pencil, oh, I might have it in here. Here's a black pencil. I actually brought these with me, my blues, my greens, and my reds, to show you. There's different ones. See, they're not all red or blue. There's purples and different colors in here, and I'll show you how to use these. But if you'll see a black is pretty dull, and it'll flatten your picture. To create depth for the visual look to your picture, to create depth, you want to use colors to create your blacks. And you can see here's 3 different blacks. I don't know if it'll show up in the camera as much, but I picked a blue, a green, and a red. For this one, violet blue. Here's violet blue right here. And I just started layering up, going as light as I can for as long as I can, and use the violet blue. This one I'm doing the crosshatch method just to get it on there a little bit faster for you. And I'm trying to hold my pencil up a little straighter. That I fail in that sometimes. And then let me find my dark green. Actually, there's my dark green. This one got a little dull, and it doesn't look dull maybe to you, but it's dull to me, so I'm going to sharpen that up. And I'm going to do this. I'm using the crosshatch method on this one. Really lightly. And then, here's my dark green that I'm using. right here. And that one is dark green, violet blue, and I'm going to use a Crimson Lake, which is this one right here. Put it in here. And I'm going to go like this. And building up my layers. I want that rich, deep color in my colored pencil projects. So I'm not pushing hard, I'm keeping it really light. And I'm going to do the cross-hatching method on this one too. You see I'm starting to get closer to black. And I frequently use my colored pencils, I keep them in my hand because I'm layering so much that I don't like to stop and pick them up. So I just keep them in my hand. So I'm just going to keep repeating this process to create my blacks. Now I did say at the beginning that colored pencil is a slow medium. It's not fast. It's easy. It's easy to carry around and transport and take with you. It creates beautiful colors, but it is not fast. So if you're looking for something fast, you're not going to want to do colored pencil. And I'm going to do blue gun. So you can see I can get it closer to a black, a really dark color, but it has so much more depth than just the black does, because you can see through that. Even if you're not understanding what you're seeing, you're going to see that red and that green and that blue pop through there. So making black a blue, a green, and a red, and you can experiment. It could be a purple, a different color green. This one was an olive green and a Tuscan red. Where's my Tuscan red? Here's my Tuscan red. And a blue indigo, which is a really pretty, where's my blue indigo? And a blue indigo, that one. For this one, I used a violet, so more of a purpley green, a peacock green, which is really fun, and then a mahogany red, which is a lighter red. So for that black, those are the three colors that I used. You can experiment with anything, just kind of keep in mind a blue, a green, and a red to create your blacks. Maybe throw in purple in there too. So that's just a little trick to help your colored pencil pieces just to look so much better. Just kind of throw away your black pencil. Actually, you can use it for little things, but I pretty much don't use this pencil at all. Okay, now I want to just do some fun details. I'm going to build up some layers that you can just add details to your paintings. Scraping, I'm going to just build up. I'm going to go fast here a little bit and do some cross-hatching method to just get some pigment on my paper. And I'll try some of this green. And maybe go back to here. And I realized in my painting as I'm doing this, oh, I wanted to leave a little bit of a lighter detail. I have a meadow in the background and I wanted to look like there was some lighter grasses in there. Like, oh, what can I do to correct this? Go like this. Might not have gotten it dark enough, but I can actually take my X-Acto knife, that's just using this, and I can just actually scrape a little bit away. I'm pushing really light because I don't want to kill my paper. But I don't know if this is going to show up on the camera too much, but if you just want a little bit of detail, maybe your flowers that you've created, you just need a little bit. You can see it better on this one. You just want to scrape a little bit. It's not going to go back to white unless you damage your paper, but it'll take a little bit of the layers off and allow you to create some details. Another one, if you've gone and done an area and you wanted it to be lighter, let me put down some layers. Again, I'm cross-hatching. And I realized that I needed to, on my apple, let's pretend I was doing an apple, and there was an area of the apple that needed to have a whiter highlight. I'm going to put down some orange here. A little more blue. I can actually take, this is a kneaded eraser, K-N-E-A-D-E-D, and you can buy these really cheap. It's a self-cleaning eraser. I love it. You just clean it by turning it in on itself. And you can make little areas, smaller areas, and I can actually pull up some of this. I've got this a little too dark, so I could actually pull up some of that area. It's on here. I can clean it, and I can pull up another area and create a lighter by just going like that. As you can see, I made that, there's my example, I made that a little bit lighter. If you want a little bit of a highlight on a leaf, maybe I could show you one here, what I did. Say maybe the sun is hitting this area right here a little bit more on my piece. I can actually just pull up a tiny bit of color. I don't know if that shows up too much, but I could pull up a tiny bit of color and create a little bit of a highlight with that method. The scraping method, I actually could put more, if I wanted to put more veins in here, is where I could use that just really, really lightly. Could use the scraping method. Okay. White details, pretty much, let me sharpen this. With white details, one thing that helps, my preferred method with white details is if I've got like whiskers on a kitten, I actually, or something like that, I actually leave the white. And that you have to be careful of when you're drawing, to leave those white details. But you can also, I know this sounds crazy, but you can also kind of draw them in there ahead of time with the white pencil and help protect that paper a little bit. It's not going to do a whole lot, but it gives it a little bit of protection. I don't know if you can see that. You can see the details a little bit in there. I'll highlight them a little bit where I drew. It just helps protect the paper so the pigment of the blue doesn't go on there so much. I don't know if that's showing up for you. But there's where white details, where I left it a little bit. Another way to get white details, you can see here where I have, like, it's pretend like we're doing a leaf. Let me put down some layers. And I have a paper clip. We're going to use a paper clip for this one. Let me get this a little bit darker so that you can see it. I love building up greens for leaves because they're not just one color. There's such a multitude of colors. Let me put a little bit of a darker one. Whoops. Put a little bit of a darker color in here so that you can see what I'm doing. I'm still putting down my pencil as light as I can for as long as I can. Then I'm actually going to take a little bit of Scotch tape. Just regular old Scotch tape. And I'm not going to press this Scotch tape because I'll pull up everything if I do that. I'm just going to hold it above. I'm going to take my paper clip and I'm just going to press in. Hopefully this works for you. Pull it up. Do you see that? And I pulled up some and I've got a little bit of detail and you can see it better here where I took my time a little bit more. If you press the whole tape down, you're going to pull up it all. But if you just press down and push on here and kind of hover above and push in it, you're going to pull up some of your pigment and you can create some of your white details that way. Just another little fun trick. So for instance, on this piece, if I wanted to highlight maybe this vein a little bit on this leaf, I could just use the tape with my, hold the tape over it with my paper clip and rub it, and I could pull up a little bit more light on here. Just being careful not to touch it to the whole leaf where I'm pulling up all of my pencil. So that's a fun trick to know. Okay, burnishing. Burnishing means, I personally like to build up layers and keep that really soft look so that you can almost see the paper through the colored pencil. But you can also create colored pencil that has like an oil pastel look to it because this is full of wax. and wax blends together. So burnishing, you're building up your layers. I'm going to build up color here. This one's getting a little bit dull, and you don't want to burnish, I would say, probably at least 8 layers of pencil before you burnish. Once you burnish, there's not much more you can do to your piece. So you want to be careful and not do it too fast. You throw in another fun color just for fun. And so I'm building up, I'm keeping my pencil pretty much straight up and down. I'm trying to keep it sharp so I can get into the tooth of the paper. I'm building up my layers. And I want to get that smooth look at the end. I want to burnish it at the end. I'm not sure how many layers I have on right now. It works so much better with more layers. Now there's different ways I can do this. I can actually take my lightest layer, say I want a light green or something at the top. I can actually burnish with my light layer at the, so I'm actually pushing a little teeny bit harder. This is my last layer, and I'm blending that pencil, all that color together, and creating a really smooth look. I don't know if you can see that really well. You can see it maybe more up here. The other thing I can do is I can use a white pencil, and I can burnish. It changes the color, but I can actually burnish in that last layer, lighten it up a little bit, and pushing a little bit harder than I normally would. And I'm melding all that wax together, or oil, depending on which pencil you use. And burnishing makes a pretty color. The other thing you can use is something, this is called Prismacolor Colorless Blender. And I just got these separately at Hobby Lobby. And this is just a wax pencil. And it won't change the color, but it'll blend. Now, I'm going to scumble this one just to show you because I don't want to get lines in there. It'll blend all those layers of color that you have in there together. So that's burnishing. This one was I used my lightest color pencil on the top to create all my greens together. This one I added white. It lightened it and it burnished it all together. And this one I used a colorless blender and just add more wax on top. Now pretty much I'm done with this piece now. I can maybe add some details by scraping back. Oops. You can do some scraping and stuff into it. But this, you have so much wax on there now, so much pencil and wax, that's your finished piece. So you don't want to burnish before the end. You just want to build up your layers like this, go as light as you can for as long as you can. So those are a few techniques for colored pencil, just to get you started. I'll put these down here. Okay, now I love drawing freehand. I love just trying to see the shapes, especially the negative shapes, and draw pieces freehand. But when you have a class like this and you're trying to work on your colored pencil and you're trying to follow what the teacher does, you pretty much want a way of taking this picture and getting the drawing onto your picture. So I have a couple different ways that I can show you. Besides just drawing it out freehand with your pencil and just kind of watching what you do. One thing, you must draw lightly. If you push into the paper, you're going to get lines, and your colored pencil will go right over those lines, and you can see the lines in your finished piece. So you must always draw really lightly. If you have trouble with that, hold your pencil way back and draw very lightly. Okay, let me show you some methods. There's my trusty blue tape. This is called graphite paper. It's light on one side. It actually has pencil graphite on one side of the paper, and you can see I've used it for other things. I can take this, and I'm going to tape everything down, place this on my paper. I'm just going to hold it in place. And I want to very lightly, again, here, let me sharpen my. If I press too hard on this, I'm going to make dents in my paper, but I can very lightly then let me just trace a few things. I'll trace this leaf and I'll show you what it will look like. Maybe go like this. So if you've got a great photo that you've taken and you want to duplicate it on your paper, you can use this method to get it on your paper. I'm pressing lightly, so it's going to barely show up. And I don't know if you can see that, but it's just barely showing up. I don't want to press dark. And then I can go and look at my picture and I can just add those details really, really lightly to make it show up a little teeny bit more. So that's graphite paper. That's one way you can transfer your drawing. Another way you can transfer, if you don't have any graphite paper, is this is the easy method of gridding. Well, first I'm going to trace this so that I can get the same shape. Now I'm going to want my piece probably right in the middle there. I'm just going to trace this paper right on here very lightly because I'm going to have to get rid of these lines. See how lightly I'm holding my pencil? I'm just barely marking the paper because I don't want to get ridges in my paper. Okay, I've traced it on there. And I'm just going to fold this in half to get grid lines. I'm going to fold it in half again. And I might fold it in half one more time. Just depends on how much help I'm going to need here. So now I've got my grid on here. And I can take this right here. And where my folds are, which is hard to see with all these lights, I'm just going to go like this. See where my folds are. I'm doing this really light because I got to get rid of these lines in the end. And then you can just take, and I just do it the easy way. I can make a grid on my paper. Like this. Oops. Yeah, I didn't even need a ruler. Okay, now I've got a grid here and a grid here. And if trying to see the whole thing bothers you, just fold back on your folds. Here's my first box. You can see that. So it's up here, so I can see, well, this goes here, and I can bring it down. This is just giving me a rough idea of where everything goes. You can even grid it more if it's going to help you. And this leaf kind of comes here, goes here. This berry, and I'm looking, what's this shape right here? What's that negative shape right in here? That's the shape I want to create right in my grid here. So this is my line. And so this berry is going to go right in here and right in here. So you can actually grid and grid your whole piece like that and build it and just keep switching. Okay, now on this one I can see, if I need to, I can bend it back down and just see what this box is going to look like. And I can grid it in. I know this berry is coming down in here. And then I can get rid of my lines. That's another way. If you want to grid, another way that you can do it is these plastic clipboards are great. You put my paper on here, tape it down. Like that, and then I can actually go up to a window or a lamp or a light. I frequently go up to my window. I put this against the window. I can tape this. I tape this on my window and I hold this up against my window. Actually, if you have a window, you don't need this, I guess. You just will hold the paper and behind it and you can actually see through the trace. If you have this thing, you can actually tape your piece on here and just use a flashlight or a light and you'll be able to see through it and you'll be able to trace the big major lines. And then you can go through and do your detail. So there's just some ways of getting your drawing onto your paper. What you want to do is be very, very careful about pressing too hard. Keep your pencil loose. And now we're going to go draw and I'm going to show you how I got this piece. And here is my sketch I did earlier today. You can barely see the pencil line because I was keeping it very light. Sometimes tape rips paper. I don't know if you've ever had that happen. So when I want to tape something down, I'm going to put the sticky side underneath. You can see how I did that. So it's not attached right now. Sticky side up. And take my tape. And I'm just going to go right along the edge and not tape my paper. That way I'm not ripping my paper when I take the tape off. That's just my way of doing it. So I'm going to put sticky side up. And hopefully we'll go through our techniques as we're drawing this piece. And so you can see how I use different things to create. And I don't know where I put my other, oh here. So this is the photo. It's kind of a light photo. Hopefully you can see it as we draw. The next step is picking out your colors. I already picked out colors for time's sake, but I wanted to show you how I did that. I just was looking through my set. I'm going to get rid of some of these so it's not confusing. And I'll pull this over here. I like to have a tray and pick out my colors and keep those colors throughout my whole drawing. For me, it helps with consistency in the whole piece. And if I think about it ahead of time, I can really look and see what colors I'm going to need and just get them ready to use. Okay, the berries. If I look at these berries, I see this color in there. And remember, we want layers and layers of beautiful color. So I also picked out, see, I'm hiding my pencils in here. I saw that color. Right in the light areas, I saw this color and maybe a little bit of a pink in there too. Then I have one of my favorite colors is called, it's actually called Black Cherry. It looks like a brown, but it's this beautiful dark, dark, dark red. And in the shadow areas, I can use this color. So these are kind of my cherry colors. I might be missing a red. Oh, here's another one. This one is called Tuscan Red, and I think this is a beautiful color too. And I'm going to pull from my other pile. What's this one? Crimson Lake. Might be a little bit of Crimson Lake in there too. We'll see. See how many colors I'm picking out? I'm not just picking one or two. And I love using blue for shadows because I think blue, if you can see in here, there's a little bit of blue in here, blue in here. I think blue just makes pictures pop and gives a richness to them, blue or purple shadows, instead of just using the blacks or the dark browns. And so in a little bit in the shadow areas like here and in here, and maybe in here, I'm going to pull in this blue. So how is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 colors just for these berries. Actually, I'm going to add another. I'm going to put some orange in there too because I can see some orange in the berries. And I want to make this picture pop. I'm the artist, so I can make it pop if I want to. So here's my berries. Okay, right there. It's me, my berry colors. Then I was looking at this stem. I'm actually going to use the same, let's see. I think I'm going to use this Tuscan Red. And I have a dark umber for the stem. You can see there's shadow areas in this stem. I also see like a baby blue in here in the lighter areas. I think is really pretty with this. And you can see on my piece how I use that baby blue in here just to add to it. I also, this is from another set. This is a Derwent Color Fast set that someone gave me. And it's a little bit, has a harder pigment to it, but I can do some of the details. And I might add this just for a little bit of pop. It's a bluish gray in there. Let's see, and what else did I have in here? If I added a little bit, what's this color? This color is, it's called Putty Beige. Might add a little bit in there, I'm not sure yet. But there's my colors for my stem. Okay, and I'm also going to use probably these 3 colors for the stems of the tiny stems. If you can see in here, there's this orange color in here, a red, and a darker. So I've got those colors. So that's will be these colors. Okay, now for the green. Oh, what colors did I add in here? Okay, besides I'm going to actually add some of my violet blue back in for some of these darker areas that are shadow areas. I'll have that in there. But this is a moss green I'm going to use from some of my darker areas. I'm going to use just the regular, this is the apple green. This was in the beginning Prismacolor set. It's not too much of this green in there, and it's not really my favorite color. I like more of the olivey greens, but there's some of this, and it'll help to brighten up the picture. Here's a lighter version. This one is called Lime Peel, actually, Lime Peel, and I see that color in here also. And then I see a really pretty that I can add to it. This one is Chartreuse. I can add in here, if you can see. And then some of my leaves, I'm going to go back and steal from my berry colors, and I'm going to have this beautiful orange in here. You can see that. I'm going to put, this color is sand. I'm going to put some sand in there. Whoops, hold it there. I'm going to go back, you'll see in here, see some of this in this leaf. And maybe a bit of burnishing with this color at the top. Give it that pretty color. And this one is light peach. And of course, I can have this very pretty bright chartreuse, or this one is yellow chartreuse. So my leaf colors, there's lots of colors involved there, are this, but you'll also notice that in the leaves, there is a red. So I'm actually going to be adding these 2 colors in there too as I layer up. Now, if you have a smaller set than I do, remember from my color chart that I can actually create all of these colors from the small set too. So, okay, we're going to start. I'm going to start with a berry. I'll start with the one in the middle. I won't do this whole piece today, but I'm going to get you started on the different aspects of the piece. Now, what I would do with this cherry, I'd probably get the main color first. First thing I'm going to do is I notice my pencil lines are a little bit dark, so I'm going to take my kneaded eraser because I don't want them to show in my piece. And I'm just going to, I'm not rubbing with this, I'm actually just going to just touch it a little bit, and it helps lighten some of those pencil lines so that they're not, but I can still see them, but they're not so dark, so they won't interfere with my piece so much. So that's my kneaded eraser for that. Okay, I'm going to start with this berry down here. Now my pencil looks sharp, but I'm actually going to make it sharper. I'll do the handheld one. And remember to turn the sharpener and not the pencil so much. And you want to keep a really sharp point. You want to go as light as you can for as long as you can. So I'm not going to fill this all in like this. If I did this, I'd have directional lines and you would flatten your piece out. But I want this piece to be rounded. I want this berry to look rounded. So I'm going to do my scumbling, which is those little ovals. And my sharp, I'm going to get a sharp edge really lightly and then scumble right to that edge. You don't want to outline your piece, but you want to get a nice edge on your piece. And then right up here, I'm going to really look because there's little dimples and stuff in the berry. If you want to keep it natural, you're just not going to color it all in. You're going to actually look and see where what's happening with this berry. This is a great way to just train your eye to really see what God has created out there and how it's so many shapes and lines and yeah. And they're not perfectly round, and I'm just going to scumble in here this berry. Now my pencil line's showing a little bit on the edge. I can come and get that later. This is a little bit lighter over here, so I'm going to scumble this in. I'm just getting this base color down. I'm going to go right along the edge of this leaf. So my sharp pencil is helping me get the edges. The wax makes it very smooth, so I can get a nice smooth color on here. And I'm just going to get this base layer down. It's a little darker around the edges. I'm not pressing hard, I'm just layering on top of color on top of color. And this is going here. So I'm going to move this here. Okay, kind of got my first layer down there. And I like to hold my pencils in my hand. I'm going to go for the darker layer that's right along the edge where the shadows are. And I'm using my Crimson Lake in here. Now I'm just going very, very light, bringing this in and blending it up. That's my darker edge. So it's starting to take shape now. And there's going to be darker right in here that I see. So my eye is going back and forth between the piece and my berry, and I'm just watching those shapes. It doesn't have to be exact. Remember, you're the artist. No one will know in the end, but this gives you a good guideline. I go in there. So it's getting rounder. I'm kind of leaving this a little bit lighter in there. And so let's see. This has got, oh, let's just pop a little orange in here just for fun. Got a little bit of orange in there. Berries. So I'm building up. I'm going to pop a little bit of this in there too, this lighter color. Keep it light in here. Then I'm going to go back to my red and build up my layers. So I'm scumbling little teeny ovals because I don't want any directional lines on this piece. And I'm following, I can see the shape of the shadows in here, right along here, and I can just see some shapes of reflections going in here. So I want to keep that shape. And I'm going to bring this up in here. So I'm going as light as I can for as long as I can, and I'm building up these shapes. Then I'm going to go for the dark again, go along this edge. And as I'm doing this, I'm filling in the tooth of the paper. I'm still going light because I love the richness of color as you build it up. Oops. On here. And get this edge back in. Blend the edges in. And the shadow, there's a shadow in here. It's along this leaf. A little bit darker down in here. So blend it more in here. That's not looking exactly like that berry, but it's kind of fun, kind of close. I'm going to go this one back again. So now I'm getting more color. You can see how the richness of the color is building up. I'm starting to fill in the tooth of the paper more. So I probably have, what, eight layers in now? I'm not sure, I wasn't counting. This is a little bit lighter. Bring this in to the edge. I want to have a little bit of fun with this, so I'm going to do a little bit of shadow because I love the richness that this is the violet blue will bring in just along the edge. just to help it pop right along those edges. I'm not outlining, I'm actually blending it in. I'm going to go back to this color. This one's getting a little dull, so I'll sharpen it so that I can get that nice point on there, and I'm going to blend this in. So you'll see that colored pencil is not a fast process, but it's a really rewarding process. Especially if you have good pencils. If you have the cheap pencils, you're not going to be able to feel what I'm feeling as the wax is blending together and just creating this really wonderful feeling of mixing it all together. So it's worth going out and getting a better, I might try a little bit of pink in there. Mine is a little bit darker, a little bit orangier than I see, but that is actually okay. And I'm going to go over this layer. Kind of blending these. I probably have 9 or 10 layers. I've just kind of lost count. So it's starting to burnish a little bit more. I'll blend this in down here a little bit better. Okay, that's a cherry. It might look a little different from this one, but you get the idea of using all of those colors to create, or not a cherry, I guess it's a berry. All your colors to create and blend together. It's not outlined. Okay, let's move on. Let's do one of these yellow leaves because they're fun to do. I'll do this one right here. I'm going to take my, let's see, this is my, which red do I want? I'm going to use my crimson red. It's pretty sharp. I'm actually going to put in this, you'll see here, I'm going to give myself, I love the curve of the stem and I kind of lost it when I was sketching. So I'm going to lift this up a little bit. Part of the fun of nature is it has all these beautiful curves and things in it. Just going to curve it right into there. Just going to sketch that in there. Then it bends, and it's actually not a straight line on this leaf. It actually kind of comes down. And you'll notice it bends right in here. And then it's going to go around where that leaf is bent. So it's not just, you don't want to just go doom, 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 like we do when we're kids and we do the veins in the leaf. You want to have those bends. And I'm going to make this a little bit darker because there's a shadow area in there. I want to keep that. Then there's really subtle veins, and I'm just going to hit them so I know where they are. That I see. Just a tiny bit in here, not very much. Okay, so this leaf, you can see the colors. I'm going to use a lot of colors on this leaf. Here, maybe not this so much. Maybe this. I might use like these colors on this leaf. So I'm going to start again. Actually, I might do this color in there. I might start with this color. Get my sharp point. And I'm going to outline it a little bit just so I can get my outline. Now I'm not pressing hard, and I'm bringing it in. I'm blending in the outline. Because this color is sort of a base color that's going to be all through this leaf and help hold it together. I'll bring this this down. Now with leaves, I'm going to do a little bit of directional line. I'm going to do a little bit of scumbling, but I'm also going to do a little bit because I see on the leaf, it has a feeling of going down like this or like this, where the veins, along the veins. So I'm going to do a little bit of directional line because that helps it create illusion of more real. I'm going to bring it down in here. So I'm going to get this color pretty much over the whole thing. That seems to be an underlining color. Okay, so now I've got my leaf down there. I'm going to take my orange in here. And I'm just going to start following this leaf again. And I'm following the directions of the veins and just putting in this orange. I'm going as light as I can for as long as I can. I'm barely touching the paper because I want to build up some really wonderful colors in this leaf. Almost need some background music while we're doing this or something. The traffic noise is the background music. You can pretend like we're sitting outside or something and drawing. So I'm following these veins, the direction of the veins with this orange. I'm filling this in. And I'm trying to hold my pencil straighter so I get into the tooth of the paper, but I do get lazy and it falls down a bit, but think about keeping your pencil really loose if you need to go up on it just to keep it loose so you don't press too hard. So there's my leaf starting to come together. Now I would say I'm going to go, let's see, what color should I use? I might want this lighter green actually. I'm going to try putting in my green in here. I see green. And I need to sharpen this. Keep your pencil sharp. I'm going to follow this down and put green in this area here. Now, it doesn't matter if it's not exactly like this leaf. They're great guidelines because nature is beautiful. It's got beautiful colors. A little bit of a there. I'm gonna go a little bit darker in here with this color. I'll get that vein a little bit more in here so I can see it. I'd actually like an orange or red. So I'm going to bring in this color. And I don't want it too dark. But again, I'm following the direction. And along the veins, I see a little bit, there's a shadow because veins actually are going into the leaf and creating a little bit of a wave in the leaf. So I'm going to give it a little bit of shadow along those veins and along this edge. And it's quite dark in here where the shadow is hitting it. I'm doing directional lines. I'm also doing scumbling. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm trying to give this leaf a little bit of feeling like veins. So I'm doing lines, and I'm not just filling it in solid. I'm just kind of going in little spots and spaces, adding more color. See, it's starting to come. So we're burnishing up our colors. And I add some more orange. This side is quite orange. See, it's starting to come together. I'm actually going to take some green for the shadow area. Right down in here, where it's curved under. And then there's just some fun stuff happening. I don't know what this is, but there's just some fun stuff in this leaf. So I'm just going to kind of twiddle around with it and add this texture in. It's like maybe little insects got to a little bit or something in here. I'm going to take this color and just kind of go over the whole thing here. So I don't know if you've lost track of how many layers, but I'm just building up layers, and this is how you can just create beautiful pieces. Maybe I'll try a little bit of this color in here too, just for fun. Precise that green a little bit more. Yeah, we're getting closer. I don't know if you can see the comparison. Mine's a little different, but you have to pick up a couple pencils here. Drop. And you'll see how I just start holding them all in my hand as I'm drawing. Kind of fun. But that one, we could work on a little bit more layers, but I'm going to move on to something else. So we've got a berry and a leaf. When we get this berry in, we'll tighten up the edge of that so that you'll be able to see it a little bit more. As a matter of fact, when we get to the shadow areas, here's a shadow in here that'll help outline this one a little bit. Put a little bit in now. That berry's going to have a shadow, and that'll help this leaf just pop right out. I'm not going to do that berry right now, but you can just see how the shadow area is going to help that leaf pop right out. Okay, let's work on one green leaf so that you'll know how to do the green leaves, and then I'll work on the stem. Okay, as we'll tackle this big one here. This stem is a little bit lighter, but I'm just going to give myself an outline so I know where it goes. It usually looks like this one is coming all the way up over here. So what I did before? Yep, that's what I did before. So I'm just going to put this in here so it doesn't get lost, because he kind of goes over the top of everything. Then I'm going to bring him right down into here. Just a hint into here. Okay, now this leaf, if you look close, it has like actually a red edge to it that makes it really pretty. So I'm going to sharpen my pencil and get a sharp edge. And I'm going to just outline this leaf. It's a little bit green up there, but down in here it starts. And I'm going to give myself the little teeth to this. With this red pencil. I'll just do half of this leaf, then I'll do the stem, and then you'll be able to finish this whole piece. And I'm just blending out that line because I don't want it to look like an outline, so I'm giving a little bit of a, I'm mushing the edges there. I am looking forward to the colors changing on the leaves. I'll bring this up a little bit. Okay, so you see how I got that edge? And I can even make it a little bit more distinct. It's got a sharp edge. Without outlining it, because I'm blending it into right into the leaf. It's those little details that help make your piece look real. Noticing that red on the edge there. Okay, I'm going to actually, with the light green, I'm going to put in some of these veins so that I don't lose them. And you want to make sure that veins just don't go like this, straight across, because that'll flatten your leaf out. This leaf has a lot of bending and curves to it. So I'm going to put in one that's kind of going like this. I'm going to put in another one. This just helps me remember where they are so I don't lose them. This one kind of bends down and curves and then bends out again. You just don't want to lose those fun things in your leaf. That'll help it to be real. Okay. Just going to hook these to my, a little bit of shade to my stem here. All right. Now you'll see that there's an overall color. I'm going to do the overall color, but then there's going to be darker areas to make those puckers where the stem goes. So I'm going to take this. This is my lime peel, which feels like it feels like just about the right color here. And I'm going to follow the direction of the leaf. I'm going to do this one side. Right where my veins are, I'm going to give just a little extra color because they pucker and they okay. So I'm actually putting a little extra color here where I can see. I'll do this one kind of fast because I think we're coming to the end of our time, but I want you to have an idea of layering up. Okay. And I'm going to do a little bit of a darker green right where those puckers are in the veins. I'm scumbling right in here because I want it to be smooth. I'll take this color. I'm going to go back over the whole thing again. Kind of following the direction of the leaf, and I'm going to blend up this red. So it's starting to come together. Basically, we're just going to continue this technique. I might add a little bit lighter in here because I see where the sun is hitting a little bit different in here. I'm going to continue with this technique until we have all of our layers on. So basically, I would just continue with that. You can see how much more I have to do to get it darker. And it's a little bit darker around the edge here. So I would bring this in. And eventually, on this piece, we'll just keep building up and building up until we get that dark. And you'll see it's really similar. A little bit brighter than this one, but I like kind of popping things out. So that is how we do the leaf technique. And the stem I'll do really quick just because we're running out of time. But with the stem, I'll just outline a bit. I'm going to use this dark blue-gray, which I love. And I'm just going to make these little, because stem has a rounded little chunks to it. So as I do this, I'm going to just make little rounded chunks. Draw this in, and the colors we use for the stem with these three colors. And so I'm going to add some of this reddish. And again, I'm just going to make these kind of go into the side, but make them a little bit curved so it looks like a curved stem. Sharpen it up so I can just get this nice edge in here. Like this. And then my last, I'm going to add this blue in here. Basically, that will be the stem. And you'll see on my final one, I just kind of did that all the way down. And I added a little bit, when I went to do some shadow areas, I added a little bit of this violet blue just to make it pop a little bit, just tiny little details. Anyway, that's what I would continue throughout this whole piece. I would just keep building up my layers, not rushing it. Go as light as you can, as long as you can. I wouldn't burnish, which means pushing hard or pushing another color into it at the last layer only. Do that at the last layer only. But keep building up light layers and you'll get this really richness of color. And that's basically our colored pencil class. I hope you enjoyed it.